Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video here on Channel Ruposhi News Channel. We're back with more tributes. In this video, we have a list of American legends who passed away in the last few days, or just recently. Number 1. Lilly Ledbetter. The Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act became the first bill Barack Obama signed into law as president in 2009. A family representative has announced the death of women's rights leader Lilly Ledbetter. Her age was 86. Best renowned for pushing for women's equal pay, Ledbetter passed away on Saturday night from respiratory failure. She was in her birthplace and home state of Alabama. In a statement released on Sunday, her family said, "She was surrounded by her family and loved ones. Our mother lived an extraordinary life." At Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company in Gadsden, Alabama, where she was employed as an area supervisor, Ledbetter began her struggle for equal pay in the 1990s after receiving an anonymous letter claiming that she was being paid significantly less than her male co-workers with comparable or less seniority and experience. "I accepted a position that was typically thought of as belonging to men." In a 2019 Forbes interview, Ledbetter stated, "I disagree with that term. It's a job. It might be male, Latino, African American, heavy, thin, or anything else. They should be given the position and the associated compensation if they are the most qualified candidate." Years of court cases that eventually reached the Supreme Court started as a result. The top court decided that Ledbetter had missed the time for submitting her claim, and as a result, she lost the action against Goodyear. However, Democrats in Congress battled to enact the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act, encouraged by Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg's dissenting opinion. By relaxing the statute of limitations that formerly favored companies, the measure facilitates the presentation of a lawsuit by victims of wage discrimination. In 2009, the first law signed into law by President Barack Obama was the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act. Lilly did what so many Americans before her have done, setting her sights high for herself and even higher for her children and grandchildren. Michelle Obama, the former First Lady and President, said in a statement on Sunday, "Michelle and I are grateful for her advocacy and her friendship, and we send our love and prayers to her family and everyone who is continuing the fight that she began." Ledbetter received the inaugural Future is Female Lifetime Achievement Award from Advertising Week last week, which honors the accomplishments of groundbreaking women. The Hamptons International Film Festival recently saw the premiere of Lilly, a movie based on her life and featuring Patricia Clarkson as Ledbetter. Number 2. Tim Johnson. Tim Johnson, a South Dakota Democrat who served for nearly 3 decades on Capitol Hill, 10 years in the House, and 18 in the Senate, earning bipartisan respect as a quiet workhorse attuned to the needs of his state, died October 8 at a hospice center in Sioux Falls, SD. He was 77. After 3 Senate terms and 5 House terms, the Democrat from South Dakota retired in 2015. After former Senator Chris Dodd, D-Con, retired in 2011, he took over as head of Senate banking. In a statement released on Wednesday, his family stated, "As a fourth-generation South Dakotan, fighting for the state he loved was the greatest privilege of his life, but he considered his family his greatest blessing." With Barbara, his wife of 55 years, by his side, he was incredibly proud and happy to see his 3 children and 8 grandchildren grow and flourish. The moderate nearly beat current Senator John Thune for re-election in 2002 after winning his Senate seat from incumbent Republican Larry Pressler in 1996. Before returning to the Senate in 2007 to 2 standing ovations from colleagues, he had survived a potentially fatal brain hemorrhage in 2006. According to his family, Tim used to joke that neither the left nor the right had exclusive access to all good ideas, but that by cooperating, we could discover areas of agreement for the benefit of our nation. Tim taught us to never give up in both his life and his work. Number 3. Robert Coover. The enthusiastic and rule-defying fiction writer and educator Robert Coover passed away. He created new literary adventures with books like The Babysitter and The Public Burning, as well as throughout his decades on the faculty at Brown University. He was 92. Sarah Caldwell, Coover's daughter, told the Associated Press on Sunday that her father passed away on Saturday at a care facility in Warwick, England, surrounded by family. Author and filmmaker Caldwell claimed that his health had been deteriorating recently. "Coover has been a friend and mentor to me since I was in my early 20s, according to writer T.C. Boyle on X. I discovered a whole new world with his debut collection, Prick Songs and Descants." Coover was frequently associated with postmodern or metafiction writers of the 1960s and 1970s, like John Barth and William Gass. Through language experiments, the parody of mysteries, fairy tales, and other literary genres, or the self-conscious investigation of the creative process, they questioned and occasionally bludgeoned traditional storytelling and syntax. Coover's hallmarks included a wide range of cultural references, dark humor, violent sex, and diverse perspectives on everything from baseball to tiny villages. Ben Marcus, a writer, once said of Robert Coover, "He writes from life, but not the one he has lived out in the world. He writes from his experience as a story reader. He uses his personal experience, the experience he had inside texts, as a basis for his work. He was raised in Ovid's Metamorphoses, not Iowa. He experienced his first love not in the American Midwest, but rather in the Decameron, Aesop's stories, or Greek mythology. He wrote dozens of plays, novellas, and novels, and he was rarely without something to say. Among his well-known works were The Babysitter, in which a night out for the parents turns into a funhouse of alternate realities. You Must Remember This, an X-rated parody of the main characters from Casablanca, and Huck Out West, a book in which Coover carried on Mark Twain's Huckleberry Finn's adventures. I've carried with me throughout my life the lesson I learned from reading, Thomas Pynchon's V. All of my work is essentially comical, he told the Boston Globe in 2014. The only thing I have ever written is that. The books are all intended to be comic works, even though that isn't always the case. The Public Burning, Coover's most controversial novel from 1977, was a warp-speed satire of the 1953 executions of convicted communist spies Julius and Ethel Rosenberg. Publishers were reluctant to accept the book for fear of legal action from Roy Cohn, Richard Nixon, and other historical figures who were still alive at the time and who are featured in it. The views of then Vice President Nixon, who bemoaned his submissive status in the Eisenhower administration and confessed to a developing sexual affinity between himself and Ethel Rosenberg, interspersed with Coover's chapters concerning the Rosenbergs. My job was to be Eisenhower's salesman in the cloakrooms, Coover's Nixon reveals. I had to calm the barn burners, soften the hardshells, keep the cowboys and hunkers in line, and appease the soreheads and baby tinhorn egos because I was the political go-between for the patsies and the Neanderthals. I had to patch the fences and bandage the wounds because I was the wheelhorse and flak runner. Coover had an impact in the classroom and on paper. Rick Moody and Sam Lipsyte were among the students he taught at Brown, where he served as a faculty member from 1981 to 2012. Coover and other instructors like John Hawkes encouraged their pupils to try new things and deviate from the realistic, minimalistic style that was typical of mainstream American literature, as epitomized by Ernest Hemingway. Anything seemed feasible to Coover. He promoted cave writing, which involved immersing students in a virtual reality simulator, and was an early proponent of the idea that the written word might be combined with music, movies, and digital technology. He contributed to the creation of electronic literature, or narrative created especially for digital devices, prior to the widespread availability of ebooks. Before the internet in the 1980s, he told The Believer in 2015, "I saw quite clearly that the whole world was shifting toward digital formats, and that it didn't matter whether it was movies or writing or whatever. Something was on the horizon." Among his accolades was the William Faulkner Award for Best First Novel, which he received for The Origin of the Brunists in 1966. In addition, he was honored with the Clifton Fadiman Medal for fiction writers who deserve greater attention and the Rie Award for Excellence in Short Story Writing. He was elected as a member of the American Academy of Arts and Letters, and the Robert Coover Award for an excellent piece of electronic writing was even named in his honor.